Hi and welcome to a short video tutorial going through the process of explaining why one academic journal is appropriate for us to use in our academic conversation, whether it's a research paper or anything else, any other kind of assignment that might require research. I'm just going to kind of go through the database entry and look at what makes this appropriate. The two big things that you want to look at in the name of the journal we're looking at is the Explicator. I've probably given you an assignment that required you go look up an article from this journal. These are the search results of all the articles that are in the TCC EBSCOhost database from that academic journal. Whenever you see the little image to the left of an entry here that says it's an academic journal, and once you've clicked your limitations to only scholarly peer review journals and this comes up, you're in good shape. I don't know that any professor would ever argue with you over the academic credibility of a peer-reviewed academic journal, and if they did, I'd like to meet that professor and understand why they have a problem with that. If you want to look closely at the publication information on a journal, you can click on any of these entries and go into the specific publication for the journal. Here it is for the Explicator. Says who publishes it, says the dates that the database has collected the articles from the journal, says the publication type that it's an academic journal, and says that it's peer-reviewed, and that's what you want to look for. Peer-reviewed means that a group of scholars sits on the editorial board of the journal and they have reviewed every article that's published and said, yes, this meets our standards for being part of the academic community, therefore it's okay for us to publish it in this journal. If you wanted to get deeper and go to the website of the publisher themselves and check out the publisher, you could, and you may need to do that on some sources that you come to look for. This one will give a little bit of a background about the publisher themselves. I don't know how much great information it'll give us. It tells us that they're a private corporation that publishes this stuff. A lot of academic journals you find are actually published by colleges or universities. This one happens to be one that isn't, but it's still peer-reviewed, it's still considered academic, and that's why we're going to accept it for entry into our academic community. It's not a non-credible source like USA Today, Time Magazine, something like that. Those publications we don't really consider part of our academic community. The last thing I'll say about this publication, the Explicator, is that if you hear the terms primary source versus secondary source in this class, any of the articles that are within the Explicator here are going to be considered secondary sources because they are articles written about primary sources, the primary sources being the piece of literature that they're analyzing. So in this nicely titled I'm Not a Retard, Intellectual Disability and Human Community and Cormac McCarthy's The Road, this article is going to be a secondary source that is analyzing the primary source of Cormac McCarthy's novel, The Road. The same for this is a secondary source on Herman Melville's Moby Dick, which is the primary source, and on and on and on for each one of these.